They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
Bang! Bang! Was that the first and only time, Mike Breen, you broke out the double bang? It was that big of a shot Steph made?
It was the first time, Greg, and don't ask me why or how it came out. It was like an out-of-body experience. To me, that shot, that game was an accumulation of everything that was going on that year. It was a magic carpet ride. They were the greatest show on earth, and he was playing at this incredible level. And I think, they had won like 11 in a row. Then they lost a game. Now they were winning like 5 or 6 more in a row. Their record that time, it was something like 50, 55, and 5. It was unbelievable. And finally, they're playing a very good Oklahoma City team, and they're losing. In fact, they were losing by double figures, if I recall correctly, in the fourth quarter by double figures. And it was a game that Steph had actually had to leave earlier because he turned his ankle. And you know how anytime, he turns his ankle, it's like, uh-oh, it was still something that people worried about. But he comes back in the game, and he got going and got hot. And here's this young man who has now catapulted himself into the elite class and has become one of the truly special shooters, maybe the best shooter of all time. And they're playing so well, and every night there was such pressure on them. And for them to come back in that building, great atmosphere there, against a really good team, and then with that shot that he could have dribbled a few more times, but he was feeling it. It was one of the most incredible shots I've ever seen.
And then from the Oklahoma City standpoint, Mike, Kevin Durant was just brilliant in that game. In fact, in the overtime, with 1 minute gone in the overtime, Oklahoma City led by 5, and Durant wound up fouling out. I think if Durant does not foul out, and actually he fouled out guarding Steph on a switch, Oklahoma City may win that game. That was one of the great games the Warriors have played the last 5-6 years.
Right, but of course they weren't going to win the game, Oklahoma City, because that wasn't the Hollywood script. And that was the thing about that team. Is there were certain games and just the whole season you could put it as a Hollywood movie and people would be like, nah, that can't happen. But they made that thing that you think was impossible into reality night after night. And to me, that's always what blew me away about what Curry did that year and that team was their consistency every single night, because everybody was gunning for him. But they were just playing at an incredible level. And he was playing at a level where, for him, that shot, and again, in many cases, that's a terrible shot because he had time to dribble more, but not for him. There was no such thing during that whole run that season. There was no such thing as a bad shot for Steph Curry.
When you look back on the great individual seasons in the history of the NBA, where does Steph Curry's 2015-2016 rank?
Well, it's in the conversation, not just for the numbers, but the fact that, the records that he set, both as an individual, but also as the team to break the Chicago Bulls record. And you're right. I mean, they weren't able to cap it off. And I know that to this day, that still haunts many of them. But just as a regular season, what he did was phenomenal. And it's something that we've talked about, but he has changed the game. His long distance shooting has changed the game, and it's changed the way it's played on every level now. And it's changed the way the game is analyzed. It's incredible what he did that year. His range, his efficiency, and of course his flair. He always had this special flair. It was, as I said, it was the greatest show on earth.
February the 27th of 2016 at Oklahoma City, February the 27th of 2013, 2 of the best moments in Steph's career, and we are lucky Mike Breen was on the call for both of them. Bang! Bang! Thank you, my friend. Stay healthy.
Thank you, Gene. My pleasure.